The familiar scent of her mother's pot roast and baked apple pie hung heavy in the air, a stark contrast to the metallic taste of blood in her mouth. Sophia stood at the edge of the chaos, heart hammering. How could the sound of her own family's laughter feel so sharp, so piercing? As her father's fist connected, a deafening silence fell over the gathering. In that crushing moment, 32 years of being the invisible daughter, the family doormat, shattered. Did any of the 39 relatives see the real her? That night, Sophia made 3 calls that would dismantle their perfect world forever. She was done with silence. I am Sophia. For 32 years, I was their quiet girl, their pushover. But at our family gathering, I finally spoke my truth. My father, Daniel, punched me, square in the face. My mother just laughed. My brother Dylan clapped and said, "Serves you right." They never imagined the daughter they'd ignored held the power to unravel everything they built. Those 3 phone calls? They changed everything. Growing up in Oakdale, New Jersey, our life looked perfect. A spacious suburban home, a manicured lawn. But inside, I lived in the shadow of expectations I could never meet. My value was tied to one thing: pleasing my father. Daniel built his financial empire from nothing, over 300 employees, but his success came with a price. Our home was a minefield. One wrong word, and boom. His anger was a quiet legend in our family. "A Gordon never shows weakness," he'd say at dinner, but respect was a one-way street. He demanded it and gave none back. My mother, Catherine, was the perfect suburban enabler. Flawless hair, impeccable clothes, a smile for company. Behind closed doors, she made excuses. "Your father works so hard for us, Sophia," she'd whisper after his tirades. "The least you can do is not upset him." Her words were almost worse than his anger. They taught me my voice didn't matter. My feelings were an inconvenience. I learned to fold myself down smaller and smaller until I almost disappeared. Rain tapped a quiet rhythm against the window panes of her father's old study. The scent of worn leather and dust filled Sophia's lungs. For weeks, she'd been dismantling his empire, file by file. Her hands trembled as she pulled another drawer open. Then she saw it. A simple envelope, sealed and yellowed with age. Her name was written on the front in his sharp, unforgiving script. Her heart hammered. Was this his final judgment? A list of all her failures? She broke the seal with a quiet tear. Inside, there were no harsh words, no critique, just statements, investment portfolios. Each one was tied to a date: her college graduation, her first major promotion. Every single achievement she'd fought for was met with a substantial, silent donation to a charity in her name. He had never said a word, not one. His pride was always there. It was just expressed in the only language he knew: cold, hard numbers. The weight of her anger began to crack. Her mother's polished excuses suddenly sounded different. "You know how he gets." It wasn't an excuse for his anger. It was an apology for his silence. Her brother Dylan, the golden child, just followed the path laid out for him. He never had to fight for a shred of attention like she did. He received his praise openly. Hers was a secret, locked in a drawer. She thought of all those Sunday dinners, her career treated as a cute diversion, her late nights at the office dismissed. But he was watching. He saw every single step. He just didn't know how to say it. The man who built an empire from nothing was powerless when it came to his own daughter. Her relationship with Thomas flashed in her mind. He said she'd never prioritize anyone over her family. He was wrong. She had been prioritizing their approval, the one thing she thought she never had. Now this envelope changed everything. The silence in the study was no longer empty. It was full. The scent of vanilla and rain washed over Sophia as she stepped into her old room. Sunlight hit those dusty trophies on the shelf. Each one felt like a failure to him. But to her, they were a glimmer of her own dreams. Every accolade was a quiet step away from the expectations that bound her. The bittersweet taste of freedom lingered. Of course, I kept my distance. I lived in the city. But emotionally, I was still tethered, chasing their approval. Every promotion was a chance to finally earn his respect. Then, 2 months ago, everything changed. Blackwood Financial offered me a senior position. The salary was double. The team was exceptional. It was everything I'd worked for. Their ethical standards, their transparency. It was what I valued. But there was a complication. Blackwood sometimes competed with my father's firm. I knew he might see it as a betrayal. Still, I accepted. For the first time, I chose my career over potential family fallout. I decided the annual family gathering would be the moment. With everyone there, surely he'd have to acknowledge my success, how completely, catastrophically wrong I was. The day arrived with perfect summer weather. I pulled into the circular driveway of my parents' spacious suburban home. Luxury cars lined the entrance. I straightened my dress. This news was my armor. My mother opened the door before I could knock. Her critical gaze swept over me. "Sophia, dear, you finally made it. Everyone's already here." She air-kissed near my cheeks, careful not to smudge her makeup. The sudden burst of Uncle Robert's laughter hit me like a physical blow. It wasn't his laugh. It was the scent in the air. Hot glue and permanent marker. A memory flashed. I was 7. Knees scraped on the floor of this very house. My masterpiece, a sprawling cardboard castle, towers reaching for the ceiling. Then, a shadow fell over me. My father's shadow. He nudged a crooked turret with his polished shoe. "Sophia, sweetheart." He sighed. That old familiar disappointment hung in the air. "You should be outside. Your brother's already practicing his swing. That's where the real fortunes are made." The sting was instant. That familiar ache of being utterly, completely unseen. My whole childhood in one moment. Every dream I built, he saw as a distraction, a crooked little tower. And now, here I was, 32 years old, right back in that shadow. I stood there on the patio, the ghost of glue gun smoke in my nose. The present moment snapped back into focus. My father was still telling his war story. Dylan was still holding court. Nothing had changed. Had I? All those paper cuts throughout the day. They started to bleed. My mother's critique of my dress. My aunt's pity about my love life. Dylan's condescending laugh, playing with spreadsheets. Then, the worst of it. The words from the kitchen I wasn't meant to hear. "She's always been soft. Too concerned with ethics. She'll never make it to the top." The noise of the party faded into a dull ringing in my ears. Every hope I had for today, for his approval, it all crumbled to dust. He didn't just dismiss my job, he dismissed my very soul, my core, the part of me that cared. I looked at my father, the great Daniel Croft, the man who built an empire, the man who never saw the empire his daughter was building inside her own mind. He saw my entire life as a series of wrong choices, the wrong career, the wrong priorities, the wrong dreams. He saw every single step I took away from him. He just never understood they were steps toward myself. My relationship with Thomas flashed in my mind. He said I'd never prioritize anyone over my family. He was wrong. So completely wrong. I had only been prioritizing their approval, their acceptance, chasing a nod from a man who only valued home runs. The one thing I thought I never had was the courage to walk away from that chase. But now, this envelope in my bag, it changed everything. This offer from Blackwood, it wasn't just a job. It was a mirror. It reflected the person I had built, my ethics, my results, my success, on my own terms. The silence in my own heart was no longer empty. It was full of a terrible, quiet resolve. The storm of their judgment finally broke, and in its place, a chilling calm. This wasn't my victory lap. It was my goodbye. I stood in the dining room doorway, my confidence surging. I was ready to speak my truth. The conversation suddenly halted. Every family member turned to stare. Their forks were frozen mid-air. The silence was deafening. The head of the table, my father's seat, was empty. A single, official-looking letter lay beside his plate. What was in it? What could shatter my declaration before it even began? I had frozen in the hallway earlier. Their words hit harder than they knew. After 13 years building my career, I was about to reach a pinnacle they couldn't comprehend. And still, they saw me as the family disappointment. At 4:30, my mother announced dinner for 6, sharp, in the formal dining room. As relatives dispersed, I retreated to my old bedroom. It was just a guest room now. No trace of my childhood remained. I sat on the edge of the bed. I stared at my reflection. The face in the vanity mirror was an accomplished woman's, not the insecure girl who left this house. I earned my success, through intelligence, through hard work. Why was I still seeking validation from them, from people who never supported me? Something shifted inside me then. I would make my announcement, not for their approval, but as my declaration of independence. I was done diminishing myself, just to soothe their egos. Downstairs, the dining room was transformed. The massive mahogany table gleamed. Light from the chandelier danced on my mother's best china. Place cards positioned everyone. My mother's complex social hierarchy was on full display. My card was near the far end, between a second cousin and a great-aunt who couldn't hear. My father sat at the head. Naturally, Dylan was at his right hand, my mother at his left. The inner circle of power in the Croft family was never subtle. Servers brought out the first course. Conversations bubbled around me. Aunt Patricia's daughter was expecting. Cousin William bought a Hamptons vacation home. Uncle David's son got into Princeton. I ate my soup silently. I was waiting for my moment. It came during the main course. A brief lull settled over the table. Everyone focused on cutting their perfectly cooked steaks. The air grew thick, like before a storm. 40 pairs of eyes watched us. A silent war across polished mahogany. My father's face was a mask of cold fury. His knuckles were white on the table's edge. You would join them. His voice was a low, dangerous rumble. After everything? I held his gaze. My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs. This was it. The final break. The point of no return. I have. It's my choice. My life. He stood suddenly. His chair screeched against the hardwood floor. The sound echoed in the dead silence. I braced for the explosion, for the words that would finally shatter us. But then, his furious expression softened. It melted away into something I had never seen. A proud, tearful smile. A single tear traced a path down his cheek. He took a slow, shuddering breath. The whole room leaned in. I co-founded Blackwood, he whispered. The words hung in the air, charged and impossible. 20 years ago, with a friend from college. He looked at my grandmother. Her face was pale, a stone statue. My own family's firm. It was corrupt, rotten from the inside. I had to escape, to build something ethical, something pure. But my mother, she forbade it, said it would ruin the Gordon name. She buried the truth, made me swear never to speak of it. The air left my lungs. The dining room, once a battleground, now felt sacred. The scent of old wine and revelation hung heavy. I had spent my whole life running from his shadow, only to step directly into his proudest, most secret legacy. The scent hit her first. Old leather and lemon polish. His words, "this very table," snapped her back. A sudden flash. She was 9. The scent of chlorine and cut grass, laughter from the pool. A small girl, beaming, presenting her father with a blue ribbon for Most Improved Swimmer. His smile vanished. "Gordons don't strive for improved," he'd said, coldly handing it back. "We are the best." The sting of the sun, the shrill buzz of a cicada, and the crushing weight of a standard she could never meet. He thundered, slamming his fist on the table. The crystal glasses jumped. "After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? By becoming a corporate traitor?" The old accusations were meant to make her cower, to make her retreat, but something had shifted. She was no longer that insecure daughter. She was a professional who had earned her success. "This is exactly why I never tell you anything," Sophia said, her voice steady. "You can't stand that I succeeded on my own, that I don't need your connections, that I've built something for myself." Her mother gasped. "Sophia, apologize to your father. Now." "For what? For having an independent thought? For refusing to pretend I'm less than I am?" Her father pushed back his chair. It toppled backward, crashing to the floor. The sound echoed. He stood, fists clenched. "You ungrateful little brat," he snarled. "You think you've accomplished anything without us? You're nothing without this family." "Daniel!" her Aunt Patricia exclaimed, but he was beyond hearing. Rage transformed his familiar features. He stalked around the table toward her. Relatives shrank back. Sophia stood her ground. "I've spent my entire life trying to earn your approval. Nothing was ever good enough. No accomplishment ever mattered. I'm done diminishing myself to soothe your ego." He reached her before anyone could intervene, though in retrospect, no one really tried. What happened next occurred so quickly. Many relatives later claimed they didn't see it clearly. My father's hand swung towards me. His fist collided with my cheek. The force threw me against the wall. Pain exploded. I tasted blood, my own blood. Gasps filled the room. Through the ringing in my ears, I heard it. Laughter. My mother's high, nervous laugh. "Daniel, really? Not at dinner?" Then my brother Dylan. His voice was cold, satisfied. "Serves you right? Maybe that will knock some sense into you." I pushed myself upright, my hand pressed against my throbbing face. I looked around. 39 faces stared back. Shock, discomfort, voyeuristic thrill. Not one person moved. Not one. They all just watched. A single drop of my blood fell. It hit the pristine white tablecloth, a perfect stain on our perfect family lie. I turned. I walked out, through the kitchen, out the side door. No one called my name. No one followed. The cold night air hit me. It smelled of rain and distant wood smoke. I got in my car and drove. Muscle memory took over. In the rearview mirror, I watched the bruise bloom on my cheek. A dark, angry flower. The physical pain was nothing. The illusion was shattered. They would never value me. I pulled into a hotel 20 miles away. The lobby was quiet. I kept my injured side turned away. The clerk was on the phone. He barely looked up. He took my card. He handed me a key. I took it. The plastic felt cold in my hand. My silent ticket to freedom. Or was it just exile? The elevator doors closed. I was alone. The silence was deafening. My face throbbed with every heartbeat. A brutal reminder. But of what? What do you do when the people who are supposed to love you become the source of your deepest pain? The door to my room clicked shut. I was finally alone. I leaned against it. The weight of everything crashed down. The tears finally came. Not tears of sadness. These were tears of rage, of finality. This was the end of something, but also a beginning, a painful, terrifying beginning. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Once, then again. A text lit up the screen. It was from my mother. My heart skipped a beat. Was it an apology? A plea? I unlocked the phone. The message was simple. Your father is very upset. You need to come back and apologize. You've ruined the evening for everyone. I stared at the words. They didn't hurt anymore. They just were. The truth. This was who they were. The buzzing started again. This time, it wasn't my mother. The name on the screen was my assistant. At 9 p.m. on a Sunday. My blood ran cold. Something was wrong. I answered. "Sophia?" Her voice was strained, panicked. "You need to turn on the news. Right now." I fumbled for the remote. The TV flickered on. A news anchor's serious face filled the screen. The headline at the bottom made my stomach drop. It was about my company, my life's work, and it was blowing up. My private hell had just gone public. I stepped into the Stark hotel room, my heart heavy. Before the unforgiving bathroom mirror, I confronted the damage. My left cheek was swollen, a bruise that seemed to bloom with fury. The split in my lower lip oozed dried blood, a bitter reminder of a moment I wished to forget. I looked like a victim, and shame clenched my insides. For over 3 decades I had played the family peacemaker, always smoothing over conflict, always minimizing my own successes to keep the peace. What was my reward? A punch that shattered the illusion of safety. Mockery echoed around me from my own family. I checked my phone, desperate for a lifeline. Silence. No calls, no messages, not even a text from my mom to check if I was okay. Not even Aunt Jean, the one who had always sent me those sympathetic glances at family events. I sat on the edge of the hotel bed, an ice pack pressed against my face, drowning in memories I had buried deep. At age 7, I sobbed over my perfect math score while my dad celebrated Dylan's soccer win like it was the Olympics. At 12, overhearing my mom telling a friend I should just hope to snag a good husband. Through the years, same story. My victories brushed aside like dust. Just when I thought the silence would swallow me whole, my phone buzzed. It lit up with a message from my mother. My heart raced. Was it an apology? A plea for understanding? But when I opened it, my heart sank. "Your father is upset. You need to come back and apologize. You've ruined the evening for everyone." I stared at the words. No tears left to cry. This was my reality. This was them. My phone buzzed again, this time a message from my assistant, sending a chill through my bones. At 9 p.m. on a Sunday. Something was wrong. "Sophia?" Her voice trembled. Panic crackled in the air. "You need to turn on the news. Right now." I grabbed the remote, hands shaking as I fumbled it. The television flickered to life, revealing a serious news anchor. The headline made my stomach drop. My company, the culmination of my dreams and hard work, was in chaos. My private hell had just gone public. Was this the end, or the beginning of truly finding my voice? As the rain drizzled outside, I felt my resolve harden. It was time to shatter the silence and reclaim my story. Would I let their expectations define me any longer? The hotel room was silent, except for the soft hum of my laptop. Rain tapped against the window, its fresh scent doing nothing to calm the storm inside me. All those memories, the ignored achievements, the constant dismissal, my own mother's text demanding my apology. It was a lifetime of being told I was less. But now I had the power to change the game. My fingers flew across the keyboard, pulling up the encrypted files. The cold blue light of the screen illuminated my face. This was it. The evidence I'd buried years ago, telling myself it was just professional diligence. Falsified reports, deceptive emails, my father's entire empire built on a foundation of fear and lies. He thought he was untouchable. He thought I would always fall in line. I zoomed in on a key document, my heart pounding in my ears. The damning proof was right there. But then I saw it. The "from" line. My blood ran cold. It wasn't my father's name. It was my mother's private email address. The architect of our family's control, the mastermind behind every expectation, every put-down, was her. It was never just him. The one person I thought was just a bystander was pulling the strings all along. The silence in the room was deafening. My whole reality shifted in an instant. All those sympathetic glances from her. Were they just part of the act? The weight of it was crushing. My entire life, my struggle for identity was a script she had written. The fight for acceptance was a game she designed for me to lose. So what now? Do I confront the woman who taught me how to tie my shoes, and also how to doubt myself? The evidence is undeniable. But this is a different kind of war. This goes deeper than business. This is personal. As Sophia stood in the dim light of her kitchen, papers lay scattered across the table. Each sheet told a haunting story of triumphs and losses in the battle for her own identity. The clock ticked like a relentless metronome, each second slicing through the heavy silence. Would she seize this fleeting chance at autonomy? Bittersweet memories of her past washed over her, a blend of hope and resentment swirling in her throat as shadows danced around her. Then her phone buzzed, tearing through the tension. A message from her estranged sister. "I'm here for you, no matter what." In that instant, everything shifted. The burden was no longer hers to carry alone. Exposing her father might drag innocent employees into a cyclone of chaos. It could obliterate her mother's carefully curated social standing, her true currency. And it would shatter Dylan's inheritance, turning family bonds into splinters. But wouldn't allowing the cycle of abuse to continue destroy her soul? For too long, Sophia had bent over backward to earn love from people who couldn't offer it back. The physical scars merely unveiled the emotional violence that lingered beneath their surface. As midnight approached, Sophia's mind raced. She crafted 3 lists: allies she could call, potential outcomes of action versus inaction, and her true desires beyond simple revenge. By 1:00 a.m., the decision weighed down on her like a heavy shroud. She needed to make 3 calls, 3 conversations that would set unstoppable forces in motion, ensuring her father faced the repercussions of his actions. Laying her phone on the nightstand, an unexpected wave of peace enveloped her, allowing her to sleep deeply for the first time in years. Tomorrow would alter her future, but for tonight, she finally chose herself over past expectations. Waking early the next morning, Sophia winced at the throbbing pain on her face but felt clarity surge through her. The hotel room buzzed with quiet. Only the distant hum of the air conditioning broke the stillness. A quick check of her phone revealed the silence from family was deafening, confirming her resolve. After a refreshing shower and a touch of concealer to mask the worst bruising, she sat at the desk by the window. It was time to make the first call. Her contact was saved simply as Michael Chen, a senior investigator with the Financial Crimes Enforcement Division. They'd met 3 years ago at an industry compliance conference, their connection growing over discussions about regulatory changes while sipping coffee. Today, that professional relationship felt more crucial than ever. Would this be the lifeline she so desperately needed as she grappled with her family's layered dysfunction? The air was thick with anticipation, every second slowing as she prepared to break free. The phone rang, that old, trilling sound. Once, twice, then his voice. "Sophia, this is unexpected. How are you?" "I've been better." A deep breath. "Michael, I need to talk. Something sensitive. Do you have time today?" A pause. The air hummed. "Of course. Professional or personal?" "Both." My throat felt tight. "I have documents, serious financial improprieties, at Gordon Financial." Another silence, heavier this time. Longer. "Your father's company." I could almost hear his thoughts racing. "Sophia, are you certain you want to do this?" "I am." What happened? It made silence impossible. We set a meeting for 11, a coffee shop near his office. Just before hanging up, his tone shifted, lower. "Document your current situation. Take pictures. Write it all down. Every detail. It matters." I did. The cold, clinical act of photographing the bruises, writing the timeline of the dinner. It created a strange distance, a protective shield. At 11, I sat opposite him. The rich scent of espresso filled the air. He winced when he saw my face. The concealer couldn't hide the truth. "Let's start with what happened to you," he said, his voice quiet. I told him everything. The dinner, my father's rage, my family's silence. He took notes, his expression turning grim. "Have you filed a police report?" "Not yet. That's the next call." He simply nodded. "Okay, now, show me what you found." I opened my laptop. The files glowed on the screen. This was it. No turning back. The laptop screen glowed with undeniable proof. Client fee manipulation, questionable deductions on tax documents, even secret emails outlining how to bypass the law. Michael scrolled through it all, his face unreadable. The espresso machine hissed in the background. He finally closed the laptop. His words were a promise of justice. "This is enough to open a formal investigation, potential fraud." He warned me of the backlash. I told him I was ready. My silence was over. He gathered the files, promising immediate action. His hand on my arm felt like a lifeline. "This takes extraordinary courage, Sophia." I almost believed him. The door clicked shut behind me. The afternoon sun felt warm on my skin. For the first time in weeks, I breathed. I had done it. I was free. Inside, Michael waited until I was gone. He pulled out his personal phone. The lock screen flashed. Not a picture of his own family. It was a photo of him and my father, laughing on a fishing boat. He selected a contact labeled Dad. His thumbs typed a quick message. She brought it all. Phase 2 is a go. My rebellion wasn't my escape. It was his final exam, and I had just passed every single question. My next stop was a family law attorney, Diana Winters. Her office was in a cozy, converted Victorian house, a stark contrast to my father's cold office. I told her everything, the years of emotional control, the dinner, the slap that finally broke me. She listened, her compassion giving me strength. "We need to file for an immediate restraining order," she stated. "With your injuries, we have grounds. We will also press criminal charges." But a cold dread was already seeping in. My father's resources were vast. His connections, deep. Was any of this even real? Or was I just playing a part in a game he designed? The hope I felt just minutes ago began to crumble, replaced by a terrifying question. Was anyone truly on my side? I opened my laptop, the screen glowing with undeniable proof. This was it. No turning back. The evidence was overwhelming. Manipulated client fees, tax document fraud, even secret emails revealing how to skirt the law. Michael, my ally in all this, scrolled through the files, his face a mask of determination. The espresso machine hissed in the background, punctuating the weight of the moment. Finally, he closed the laptop with a snap that echoed in the quiet. "This opens a formal investigation," he declared, his voice steady. "But be ready. There'll be backlash." I took a breath, my heart pounding. I was ready. My silence was over. Later, in my car, sunlight streamed in, warming my skin for the first time in weeks. I felt free. But just then, my phone buzzed desperately. A message from Michael's personal device. The screen flashed a picture of him with my father, grinning on a fishing boat. A chill ran through me as he tapped out a message. Phase 2 is go. My rebellion was not my escape. It was my father's final exam, and I had just answered every question. The next stop was Diana Winters, my family law attorney. Her office was a cozy Victorian, warm and inviting. I poured out my heart, revealing years of manipulation, a dinner that ended with a slap, the breaking point. Her eyes softened, filled with empathy. "We need to file for a restraining order," she insisted. "Your injuries, they tell their own story." A cold dread seeped into my stomach. My father's resources were endless. Was I truly safe? I was still trapped in his game. "Document every interaction," she instructed, "because your family will deny it." A part of me fluttered with hope. Maybe speaking out would inspire others. We spent 2 hours building my case, photographing my injuries, cementing the truth. "The sheriff will serve the restraining order tomorrow," Diana promised. "If your father violates it, he'll be arrested. You're legally safe." I nodded, but a spark of doubt lingered in my mind. Would anyone stand with me? Next, I reached out to James Wilson, an investigative journalist known for exposing corruption. We met at a small waterfront restaurant away from prying eyes. I was shocked when he saw my face, his concern palpable. "Who did this to you?" he demanded. My voice was steady. "My father." Over lunch, I laid out the bigger story, an abusive family dynamic hidden behind a veil of respectability, a firm built on fraud. I explained that a regulatory investigation was underway and how vital public accountability was for true justice. Just as I thought I was reclaiming my narrative, my phone rang. The familiar ringtone sent a shiver down my spine. I answered, my heart racing. The voice on the other end was hauntingly familiar. "Sophia, you don't know me, but I need to tell you something." The ground beneath me felt like it was crumbling. "What do you mean?" I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. "There's something important about your family. A sibling you never knew existed." A gasp escaped my lips. The weight of my journey for self-identity now tangled with the loyalty I thought was unbreakable. The sunlight pouring in felt like a harsh spotlight, revealing secrets I was never prepared to confront. In that moment, I realized my struggle was far from over, and at that moment, everything changed. The scent of his Old Spice cologne, the cold leather of his study chair. I'm 13, holding a science fair trophy. He doesn't look up from his ledger. A real achievement would be getting your portfolio to outperform the market. The trophy's sharp edge digs into my palm, a pain far deeper than any praise. Financial misconduct thrives in secrecy. I explained it all to James Wilson. Clients trust advisors with their life savings, often without understanding the complex fees or risky strategies. My father exploited that trust for decades, all while playing the pillar of the community. James took detailed notes. "This is significant," he finally said. "A major firm's potential fraud, led by a man whose public persona masks private violence. Are you prepared for what publication will mean?" "I understand the consequences." My voice was steady. "I have documentation for the firm's practices, the personal stuff, my injuries. That speaks for itself. You're willing to go on record? To be named?" I paused. "For the financial part, I'd prefer to be unnamed. For now, the assault, that will be public record anyway. I just need a little time." "We can work with that," James nodded. "I'll verify everything independently. We'll give the company a chance to respond. This process, it takes about 2 weeks." "That's fine," I said. "I don't want revenge. I want facts. Reporting that will stand up in court." As we finished, James had one last question. "Are you sure? Once this starts, there's no going back." My fingers gently touched my bruised cheek. "I'm sure. The time for silence is over." That evening, I checked into a different hotel under a fake name. I turned my phone off for good. The 3 calls had been made. The wheels of justice were finally turning. For the first time, I had chosen truth over family loyalty, my own voice over their crushing expectations. Sophia's phone finally stopped buzzing. A week of silence had settled in. She'd forwarded the frantic texts from her parents and brother to her lawyer. All evidence. Then the first headline hit. "Financial services firm probed over client fees." Her father's firm. His public denial was swift, angry. 3 days later, the second story landed. CEO faces domestic assault charges. The restraining order was now public record. Her truth was out there. She waited for the shame, but it never came. Only a strange, heavy quiet. She felt untethered. For so long, her life had been a fight against their expectations. Now, What was it? She found a small rental on the edge of the city, a place with no history. The first night, a storm rolled in. Rain tapped against the window. It smelled of wet concrete and distant fall leaves. She sat on the floor, surrounded by boxes she'd finally shipped from storage. This was her life now, her choice, her freedom. It felt hollow. The victory was supposed to taste sweet. It just tasted like dust. Her phone glowed on the floor beside her. A single new message appeared. Not from a blocked number, not a threat. It was from her father. A single photo. A young man she'd never seen. He had her eyes, her stubborn chin. Her father's message was just one line. Your brother Dylan. He wanted to meet you. He died waiting for your mother's permission. The air left the room. The rain outside faded to nothing. Brother? The world tilted. Her entire history. The coldness, the control, the impossible standards. It wasn't about molding her. It was about a loss she never knew. A secret grief that choked their family for decades. Her mother's perfectionism. Her father's rage. It was never about her failure. It was about their pain. The portrait of her family shattered. Then it reformed into something tragic and utterly broken. She stared at the face of the brother she never knew. Her phone felt heavy in her hand. The silence between them had never been a wall. It was a tomb, and she had been living in its shadow her entire life. As the storm raged outside, rain tapping rhythmically against the glass, Sophia sat in the stillness of her new rental, a mix of freedom and haunting uncertainty swirling around her. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and distant autumn leaves. She had taken the bold step to break free from her family's suffocating expectations. Yet the victory she imagined was more like gritty dust settling in her throat. Her phone lit up, casting a cold glow in the dim room. A single new message caught her eye. A photo from her father. Confusion gripped her as she stared at the face of a young man who resembled her so closely. Your brother Dylan, read the message. He wanted to meet you. He died waiting for your mother's permission. What had she just uncovered? The whirlpool of emotions inside her threatened to erupt. Her entire life, she believed the relentless pressure from her family was about her inadequacies. It was never about her. It was about a grief she had never known. In the heart of the storm, Sophia grappled with a revelation that shattered her understanding of family. Her mother's obsession with perfection, her father's volatile rage, they hadn't been molding her into something. They were both trapped in a cycle of pain, haunted by a loss hidden beneath layers of expectation. She felt untethered, lost in a world where the silence had been more like a tomb than a comfort. Days turned into bitter weeks as the fallout from their family's dark secrets unfolded. News outlets buzzed with coverage of her father's charges, assault against a family member. Her phone became a battlefield of mixed messages. Concern from distant relatives, anger from those who felt she'd aired their dirty laundry. She didn't answer them. Her only lifeline was her attorney, Michael, and the occasional call from James for updates. Within 3 weeks, the impact of her stand unraveled like a tightly wound thread. Clients began fleeing Gordon Financial, sending the stock price into a nosedive. As chaos reigned, her mother canceled her gala, a shattering signal of the family's facade crumbling. But it was Dylan's messages that sliced through her heart. His voice was a whirlpool of threats morphing into desperate pleas. "Do you realize what you've done?" he croaked in one voicemail. "Dad's reputation is destroyed." Each word was a reminder of how deeply he had woven their father's toxic worldview into his own psyche. To Dylan, accountability for violence was mere spite. Sophia felt heavy with that cognitive dissonance. How could she ever have freed herself while remaining entangled in such family loyalty? Just when she thought she was free, she found herself at a crossroads. A deeper truth awaited, one that could either shatter her or give her wings. What would she uncover next about who she really was, and who her family truly was? Would she dare to confront the silence that had imprisoned her for so long? The clock ticked, the storm continued pounding, and Sophia knew the time for choosing had come. Sophia stood motionless as her mother's words hit her. The sterile office air vanished. Suddenly, she was 12 again, hiding on that grand oak staircase in their spacious suburban home. Below, her mother's sharp laugh cut through clinking champagne glasses. The thick scent of her father's cigar wrapped around her, a smell of untouchable power. The cold banister pressed against her small hand. That was the moment she knew. Her voice was a threat to their perfect world. Now, the storm of her truth had finally broken. 3 former employees came forward. A class-action lawsuit followed. Her father, Daniel, was arrested. His perp walk splashed across every business news channel. Her mother's facade shattered next. A very public collapse at a charity luncheon, sparking whispers of hidden substance abuse. Her brother Dylan's desperate attempts to save the family company failed. The board froze all income. The primary money source, gone. Then, the call. Her mother's voice was brittle with rage and fear. "We know it was you. The attorneys told us. You betrayed your family. Are you satisfied? You destroyed everything your father built." "He destroyed it himself, Mom." Sophia's voice was calm, steady. "Through years of shady business, treating people like possessions, not human beings." "He gave you everything," her mother cried. "A beautiful home, the best education. Everything except respect, or love, or basic human dignity." Her mother's tears felt manipulative, not genuine. "What do you want? Money? Is this about your inheritance?" "I want accountability," Sophia said. Her voice didn't waver. "For the clients who were lied to, for the employees he bullied, for every family dinner where I was made small, and yes, for the time he hit me for building my own career." "It was one mistake," her mother screamed. But Sophia was done listening. She finally saw the truth. Their perfect life was just a beautiful cage, and she had finally set herself free. Sophia stood frozen, the world around her fading into silence. She felt the weight of her mother's venomous whisper slicing through the air like a knife. "Blackwood knows everything." The hum of the city filtered in through the penthouse window, amplifying the tension. With her heart pounding, she held her breath as her personal cell phone buzzed to life, flashing her father's name on the screen. Could this call mean another heart-wrenching battle? Their conversation had spiraled into chaos. "You destroyed everything your father built," her mother accused, her voice painful and sharp. "He destroyed it himself, Mom," Sophia countered, calm but fierce. "Through years of shady deals, treating people like they were disposable." Her mother's tears felt like a trap, not a plea. "I want accountability," Sophia demanded, firm and unwavering. "I'm finished sacrificing my voice for family peace." The air thickened as silence enveloped them. The truth was out, and their carefully crafted life was just an illusion shattering before their eyes. Days turned into weeks, and with every sunrise, Sophia's resolve grew stronger. Life in her new apartment became a mosaic of challenges and unexpected joys. She changed her number, creating a barrier against the chaos of her past. Gone were the days of living in her father's shadow. She was forging a new path. As she navigated her journey, she found a growing sense of liberation. Her father, cornered by the weight of his choices, accepted a plea deal. Moments before his plea was announced, she felt a cold shiver. Her father's name, once a symbol of power, had crumbled into something far less than he had built. How did it all come to this? In the final echo of her family's downfall, Sophia realized the truth. Freedom was worth every sacrifice she'd made. Could she truly embrace the life that lay ahead, free from their expectations? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain. She was finally setting her own course. The phone rang once more. Was it her father? Or perhaps someone from the past she had yet to confront. She hesitated, breath caught in her throat, the uncertain future stretching out before her. What choices lay ahead, and would she have the strength to face them all? The air in the courtroom was heavy with the scent of rain and old wood. Every breath felt thick. The judge's gavel struck, its echo a final crushing blow. My father's sentence was official. Probation, massive fines, a lifetime ban from finance. Our family's company, the empire he built, was sold off for pennies. The money just vanished into lawsuits and government penalties. My mother's world collapsed. The charity galas, the country club, gone. After 36 years, she filed for divorce. But then, the twist. During the proceedings, a letter was read aloud. A confession. My mother knew. She knew about his shady deals for years. She chose her privileged life over the truth. The room gasped. I felt my heart crack. How could she? All those tears. Were they just another trap? My brother Dylan became toxic in the finance world. His last name was a curse. He moved to another state for a low-level job at our cousin's insurance firm. A massive step down. Our extended family shattered. Some called me a traitor, a villain who destroyed her own family. But then, my Aunt Jean emailed me. Her words were a lifeline. She said she saw my father's cruelty for decades. She said, "What you did took extraordinary courage. I wish I had found it myself." My healing was not a straight line. I started therapy, unpacking a lifetime of family trauma. Some days the guilt was overwhelming. Had I gone too far? Other nights, I grieved. I cried for the loving family I never actually had. But through the pain, I found my own voice. I was finally free. It was a rainy Tuesday when I got the letter. The envelope, yellowed with age, was unmistakably from her. My mother, the one who had always expected perfection from me, the one whose love always came with conditions. My hands trembled as I opened it. The scent of her old perfume wafted out, a faint nostalgic trace of everything I'd tried to escape. Inside was a 5-page letter that began with the same old recriminations. But as I read on, the words shifted. A crack in her armor, maybe? "I still believe you went too far," she wrote. But then she admitted something that stopped me cold. "Looking back, I can see that your father and I often dismissed your achievements. That was wrong of us." I almost couldn't breathe. This wasn't the mother I knew. But then, right there, at the very end of the letter, came the real bombshell, the confession that would change everything. "I pushed you because I was never brave enough to defy my own father. His voice in my head was a cage I couldn't escape. You have the freedom I always wanted." The rain outside softened, the world outside my window turning almost still. It was like time had stopped. My anger, the years of resentment, started to dissolve. All that remained was an aching, profound empathy. The woman I thought I knew was someone else entirely, someone trapped, just like me. How could I have missed it? Did she even know what she was giving me? The freedom to forgive, the space to breathe. As I looked at the letter, the weight of everything began to lift. I wasn't just free from my father anymore. I was free from her too, from their expectations, from the cage they built around me, the cage I never realized I'd broken until now. The city lights twinkled like a field of distant stars. Sophia stood alone on her balcony, the cool night air a gentle relief. In her hand, the final unopened letter from her mother felt heavy as a stone. That old hunger for approval. It was gone, replaced by something solid, real, self-respect. She took a deep breath, catching the scent of rain on the wind. The costs had been real, relationships shattered, a family permanently fractured, but so were the gains. Authenticity, integrity, the freedom to just be. With a slow exhale, she opened her fingers. The letter fluttered away, a pale leaf caught in the breeze, carrying the last ghost of her old life into the dark. The weight, it just lifted. She turned from the railing. Behind her, through the glass door, was her chosen family. Dylan was laughing, gesturing wildly with a spatula. Daniel was setting the table, arguing playfully about the music. Their genuine warmth washed over her. This was it. This was the nurturing, the respect, the care her blood family had never provided. A single, quiet tear traced a path of pure relief down her cheek. No more diminishment. No more paying for belonging with her silence. For the first time, she was finally, wholly, free. We teach people how to treat us by what we accept. For 32 years, she accepted the crumbs from a table that should have held a feast. The moment she stopped was the moment her healing truly began. If you've ever stood at that crossroads, weighing family loyalty against your own soul, know this. There is life on the other side. It might not be the picture you had in your head, but it's the one where you can finally breathe,